What's up everybody, Cutroneo here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is video number 33 in my video progress series on Roland Dyens Saudade No. 3. So you just heard the finale and my first performance of my practice session. And for this, in the last video that I worked on this piece, a lot of my time was spent on staying relaxed during a lot of the fast portions. And I felt that that sort of paid off. I was able to really control the articulation fairly well. Still a little bit of hit and misses here and there with the repeated chords, but overall, I felt the relaxation that I was working on. So I was really, really pleased about that. Middle section is still kind of a little bit of a mess after that first performance. One random thing that happened in the that lento section where rhythmically I just put a bass note on the wrong beat. So my practice pretty much mirrored what I did a handful of days ago, where I would practice for 20 minutes. I spent working on just doing my tiered practice of different metronome markings and working myself up. I was able to do a little bit more in terms of I was able to put the two phrases that I worked on separately a few days ago. Today I was able to do as a single practice, which certainly sped up the process a little bit. There's one part where I've got this crescendo, this thing. whole thing. And I've been playing that part a little bit too loud, more like it's the accented parts earlier. So I was really trying to bring out that crescendo just to a mezzo forte. So if we're going... really giving nuances to some of those dynamic shapes and not being just loud and beating the guitar as hard as possible and super soft. For new parts, I only worked on 3 new measures. It was this part, to that. I did change a fingering. Instead of using my first finger to here, needing to change that for a bar, going to... and using the second finger as a guide just frees up that first finger to come down a little bit quicker. And really during that section, there's lots of fast chords that are being played or going from single notes to chords. And so a lot of just releasing and staying relaxed while I'm making those transitions really needed to be focused on. And that was way harder than I thought it was going to be. But at the same time, if you listen back to performances of this section, I would argue that there's probably somewhere where I trip up. So really what I'm doing through this tiered practice is really trying to clean up all of those issues that tend to just come in here and there during practices or during performances. So from there, after that 20 minutes, I worked on, actually started in the middle of the piece instead of working my way at the end, where I worked on this, dealing with the inconsistencies that sort of come up during that part, that sort of, as things are happening, it's moving by so fast that I don't necessarily catch. So there was a lot of that going on. I spent a lot of time doing slow practice at 240. So at this point in the piece, the 8th note becomes the pulse rather than the 16th note. So my slow practice is just making the 16th note the pulse. So if I'm going... it's going to be that speed. And again, just really making sure that my preparation on these chords is happening, and the thumb is getting to the proper bass notes. So that seemed to be a little bit of a challenging thing at that point. I then took on a whole page slow, and I think while I could play that page relatively slow, sort of at the slow speed rather, and I could go from here all the way up to wherever the notes are, up to there pretty well in controlling the relaxation versus not relaxation. There were certain things that worked in the performance and there were certain things that didn't. This arpeggio part didn't necessarily go. And what I'm noticing is that there's just a big buildup of tension here as I'm playing that. So I think my process is going to be relatively the same, but I'm really going to focus on releasing some of that tension as things happen. So, and finding those release points when I have them. Because I'm finding that by the time that I'm here, I can really feel that I'm getting tired there. And there are certain things that are just not cleanly coming out of my performance. So let's take a listen to the second performance of this and wrap up for the video. So that was the second performance. As you can see, I think the beginning half is sounding pretty good. Once I start into sort of the samba groove, that's where just the tension starts building up. And I'm really looking for those release points to relax within this piece. And this thing is cooking at 240. Actually 120 to the quarter note now at this point. It's all in 4 at this point. But it's cooking and it's going. And there's very little room to relax. So there are certain rests and certain points where there can be, I think, a little bit of a slightly longer break for relaxation purposes. I think I'm going to start working on those things to really get that stuff happening, along with my just regular practice that I've been doing. So for instance, like here, just taking a little bit of an extra pause there, and even there. And even there, just some things like that. There's these dramatic louds to sudden softs that I think I'm just going through metronomically and driving through that. But I don't think that necessarily is going to work, both musically and physically. Just those points where I can relax a little bit and just have a little bit of extra silence. I think we'll also musically have that stuff stand out. That's what I'm going to work on for the next time. In my next video, I'm going to do another worst case scenario run through. And so I'll see you guys in that next video. If you stayed to the end of this video, please hit the thumbs up button. If you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to my channel. Hit the bell notification button so that way you're notified every time I release content. And I'll see you guys in the next video.